music itself is a teacher, it's like it always tells me what to do somehow. It's like it gives you a framework for people to be together. We talk about listening. Well, just listen. Everybody played music. I can't figure out how some of this stuff that goes on in the world could be happening.
Here we are on the Weird Music Podcast with Bill Frisell. Bill, man, so glad to have you here. So for everyone out there listening, Bill here is one of the most acclaimed jazz guitarists of all time. If you've listened to Bill's guitar playing, it feels mystical. It feels like he has this true, pure connection with this divine, lovely thing that we explore here called music. Bill, to start this off, on this podcast, we talk a lot about the nuances of improvisation. It always comes back to just deep listening and the band kind of all tapping in to this same sort of plane. And I'd love to talk to you here, starting this off, about your perspective on improvisational music. Like, what do you think it was about this type of music that attracted you in the way that it has to bring you down this path?
Wow. I mean, that's a huge question. I mean, when you say improvisation, when I think back as far as I can remember with music, it was always about letting your imagination go. The music opens this gate for your own imagination to enter into and then make something out of, So the first moments of playing, just those first moments of trying to make a sound, and you're with your friend and he's trying to make a sound. I mean, that's you're improvising. That's what it is. Or later on, I was in the school music program playing clarinet in the bands and orchestras, and you're following all the rules. But that's where I learned, how to count or how to read or how to listen to what's going on around me. But at the same time, there was always this kind of mischievous, juvenile, delinquent thing going on. I remember playing in the concert band. I was playing clarinet, and my friends next to me, and we would mess around with stuff. Let's play this backwards or do this or that. That's also a window into improvising. You're sort of pushing up against what the structure is. Man, it is a big question. But you said it just as you were asking the question. Listening is the main thing. You're just listening to what's around you, but then you try to make something out of it. The music will lead you. And if you're with people that you trust, there's this thing about trusting each other. That's the most incredible feeling. We spend all this time practicing and learning and this and that, but for me, I want to always be at that place where I don't quite understand what's happening or what I'm doing. I can practice and learn something, but then I want to be pushing it a little bit further. Like if you're with a group or another person, you learn the song, right? But you want to find out what else is there. So if you have this other person there that you trust and they trust you, you can sort of jump off the edge of what it is, and then that person can hold on to you or rescue you, or that's what it feels like to me.
When you're in like the heat of the moment of where you, like you said, you've jumped off the side of the song and you're communicating in real time, like in milliseconds, even nanoseconds with whom you're playing with. Can you talk to me about the kind of nonverbal communication going on? Like, does it feel like you're inside each other's minds while you're playing?
As soon as you try to pin it down, it's all over. I've told this story a whole bunch of times. Years ago, I was with my daughter. She was working at this art center in Vermont, and there was this ping pong table outside and there was no one around. So we start playing ping pong, and then we we say, oh, let's not keep score. Let's see if we can get up to 100 without messing up, Time is going by. We get up to like 20, 25, 30, 40, mess up. Then finally, I'm almost going to just give up, but we get to 100 and we're just in this zone. It's like 103, 104, then, like 200, 300, 400. We're just going, or not thinking about anything, just bam, bam, bam. And when we got to 608, in my mind, I said, oh man, I bet we can make it to 1,000. And as soon as that thought went in my mind, bam, I blew it, But the same thing when you're playing, like there's been these moments where you're so far in it, like I'll be playing something and I'll realize, wow, I just played some amazing thing that I never played. As soon as that thought goes in there, it's like, bam, I'm lost, and I'm screw something up or something, So it's just, it's tricky to stay in that zone, but that's a place I want to be all the time.
It's so awesome how analogous improvisation is to mindfulness. And when you're listening to your favorite music, like music that can bring you to tears, what do you think it is about that music that can have such an effect on your mind and your emotions?
I don't know if I know. I don't know if I can pinpoint it. There's this thing about memory and life experiences that music will trigger, but then it'll take you into the future too. Even the simplest song, or I don't even know if there is such a thing as a simple song, but something you thought you understood and then you hear it again and it's like, oh man, I didn't realize that was there. Or it just keeps going and going and going.
It's so humbling to speak with you. So for anyone out there listening, Bill's been playing guitar, what is it, like maybe 50 years, Bill? And
even
it's still
more.
even more. And it's still this vast mystery to you. And someone like myself, I'm in the early stages of being a musician, and I'll try to learn lessons from different people. And to hear the way it's all so undefinable, and it just is from your perspective, it's so humbling. It opens up like a whole world of discovery, as opposed to trying to like read a map, I guess I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to figure it out. You have to get comfortable with that. I mean, for me, every day, it still feels, what's out in front of you that you haven't gotten to yet it's infinite. It can be discouraging, or it can wipe people out if you're expecting to figure it all out. So you have to be comfortable with just being in the process of trying to figure it out,
Did you ever have like internal conflicts when you were younger as a musician about giving up your sense of having it figured out and just kind of surrendering to infinity, like you're saying? Like, is that something you had to teach yourself how to do?
I think it was sort of my first year or second year in college or something. I really want to play, and Bill Evans, the piano player, he came to this little club in downtown Denver, and I was going to hear him play every night, right? It was his trio with Marty Morell and Eddie Gomez. So this is like 1972 or something like that. And I'm just having these religious experiences hearing him, he's one of my biggest heroes of all time. And I'm in this little club and he's like, man, I couldn't believe what was happening with the music. This also goes back to something you were saying about perceiving it from the outside. Like what I was getting was religious experience, right? It was like just my mind was being blown. At that point, I'm thinking, wow, if I just work real hard, someday maybe I'll be able to experience what that feels like. So then after a few nights, I'm with my friends, and I had this little Volkswagen It's downtown Denver, in the middle of downtown, and there's no one out there. I'm going over to my car, and then in the middle of the street, there's Bill Evans is just standing there alone. He had lost his ride back to the hotel. So we go up to him and I'm Mr. Evans, oh my God, the music, I can't even tell you how great the music. And he was like, oh man, this whole week, I can't get it together. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Because in his own mind, he had been struggling. He was super bummed out, and I was like, whoa, man, you got to be that. And so that was another eureka moment for me, like, oh shit, I guess this stuff is never going to go away. It's just part of the deal. So that was where I kind of realized, oh, I better figure out a way to just, be happy to be in the moment trying to figure it out, And then I got to give him a ride back to his hotel. I'm in my Volkswagen and he's sitting there, and I couldn't believe it. That was so cool just to get to meet him.
I want to ask you this question, but I can already anticipate like what you'd say. Like, does music have a purpose?
Yeah, but I don't quite know how to put it. Music itself is a teacher, it's like it always tells me what to do somehow. It's like it gives you a framework for people to be together. We talk about listening. Well, just listen. But you think of what makes music work: listening first, or harmony, rhythm, tension, release. There's conflict, there's resolution. Whatever there is in music, it's a model for just human interaction. What was the question? No, but I think it really can help us. Like if everybody played music, I can't figure out how some of this stuff that goes on in the world could be happening. So.
Zooming to the side, looking back on that moment with Bill Evans, and then everything that's ensued since then in your career, you've played prestigious stages, huge crowds alongside legends, upcoming musicians listening to this. It's almost like you've achieved their dreams. And I want to ask you, like, achieving these like quote unquote like rock star dreams, what has that shown you about what truly matters in life, and like success and fulfillment and expectations? What does that show you about what really matters in life?
Well, it still gets down to, I know what I'm thankful for all the recognition. I still can't even understand how this all happened. Whatever, I get to make all these recordings, and I've met all these people. Again, it's the music itself just sort of it brings me to these things. All I've been doing is just trying to play. So whenever I've made a decision that's not based on the music, it seems like something gets, if I make a decision based on the money or for some non-musical reason, it always seems to, I think I learned pretty early that doesn't work for me. So I just try to stay on what is musically going to be the most inspiring for me. And that somehow it's always brought me to the right place and to the right people. But I know I've been outrageously lucky, it's mind blowing. It's like I won the lottery or something, it's just the right person at the right time. Starting with my parents, I've always had just incredible backup and support. I had friends that I grew up with, that I played with, where their parents didn't want them to be playing music, or, they had to be sneaking around or come over to my house to play, where my folks, we could make a bunch of racket in the basement or something. There's just been so many people along the way. I can't even, I've had all kinds of teachers and friends and just people that encouraged me. I've been so lucky with that. I've been really lucky. All those moments where I could have been derailed, there was someone that came along.
Earlier, you mentioned allowing your imagination while improvising when I asked my first question. Do you ever feel like you're pushing your imagination, or do you ever feel like your imagination's kind of stopped up?
Well, yeah, it definitely gets, things can get cluttered up in there. If you're looking at the news and all that stuff, and, there's a lot going on. There was an interview I saw with Sonny Rollins. They were talking about all the news that we're hearing, and there's just this constant barrage of heavy stuff going on. I know we have to be aware, but he just said, no, just you can't solve everything. He got it down to just practice, and don't worry about all that. Just do what you can do right close to where you are. The wisdom of these older guys like Sonny Rollins, I always love to hear what he has to say, because it just gets right down to the essential, what we need to be doing. Just practice. That's all. I saw an interview with Pete Seeger, like right close to the end of his life, and I forget what was going on at the time, some sort of messed up thing. And he was trying to get Pete Seeger to, after all the work you've done and and trying to get him to like get pissed off or something. And Pete Seeger, no, there's so much. I look around me and these younger people are, he was talking about that thing about trying to do something right in this moment, right where you are. You can't solve the whole thing yourself, but we can try to do something. Like right now, you and me, just put some kind of energy, and then that becomes contagious somehow. It does spread out. So I don't know, that I try to remember stuff like that.
That zone you're in on stage, are you ever having that experience of imagination where you're discovering what you might play next? Is there a visual component to that?
Not really, but I guess when I'm listening, sometimes there'll be more visual stuff going on. But when I'm in the midst of playing, it's more, it's just indescribable. I can't say what it is. It's doing anything, like someone who dances or someone who draws or paints or writes words or is a gardener or someone who washes dishes. I don't know, maybe anything. It's all comes from the same place.
We touched on practicing just a little bit. You mentioned that's kind of all one can do, and affecting their immediate surroundings. At this point in your career, what is practice? What does growth and evolution look like for you? Like, what specifically are you doing to get better for tomorrow, or do you not feel like that's something you're doing these days?
I don't practice in the same way that I did years and years ago. It was more systematically playing scales or just trying to figure out the notes on the instrument. I write music a lot. I guess that's sort of my way of practicing more. I guess it's more sitting there trying to find a melody. It's like drawing, like writing a melody or writing a tune. It's like finding a line and then finding where it's going to go, and hopefully having it take me into some place that I hadn't seen before. Also, I've been so lucky to get to play live so much. I have a lot of gigs, which is amazing. If I talk to a younger, we got to practice. We have to work on our stuff. But when we're going to go play with other people, you can't be thinking about what you were practicing. have to let that go and put all your attention on what's happening with the people you're with and the place you're at. You can't force what you were practicing in the day into what you were. It'll come out sometime eventually, but that's not the time to be thinking about what you were thinking about earlier in the day. That's a hard thing to shake off sometimes, you know.
I'm sure you up and coming musicians, fans of yours, ask you for advice. What would you normally tell someone like that asking for musical advice?
I mean, for me, it's super simple. Again, it's like, just if you love it, go after it. It took me a while to be comfortable, or to be not afraid to show what it was I really liked. You know, don't worry about trying to do what you think somebody else thinks is cool. You know, I think everybody, something will hit you in a certain way. Okay, I like that. So just go after that. Stay true to what you love, and then try to not be afraid to show it to other people. And then that'll be who you are, and it'll all work out. I think. I don't know. 50 years ago or something, I'd hear something on the radio that was like kind of corny or something. Like, it happened a lot with like Burt Bacharach songs or something, like "What the World Needs Now Is Love," or I don't think, oh, that's kind of a corny, you know, it's not hip, it's not cool. And I'd sort of push it aside, but deep down it's like, wow, that actually is kind of a beautiful song, you know. So over the years I've learned to just let that, if I think it's beautiful, I'm gonna play it. If you think it's corny, I don't care what you think, but I think it's beautiful, so I'm gonna play it, you know. So
Love that. Have you ever gone down a rabbit hole of like the origins of music?
yeah, definitely. Like when I said, if you find a song, that's what's amazing, to go and figure out where it came from, or what's the first version of that song. Or, you know, I really like Bob Dylan or whatever. So, you know, okay, I like Bob Dylan. So then what was he listening to? And then you start going, you know, he was listening to Hank Williams and Roscoe Holcomb and Doc Boggs and Robert Johnson. And someone like that could take you all over the place. I love going back, you know, trying to figure out where it came from. I was thinking about the song Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like, that's a song that I've heard my whole life from when I was a little kid. I never even knew where it was. Years later that I realized it came from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's, you know, and blah blah blah. But I'd hear it, you know, there's all kinds of versions of that song, Moon River. And then there's a scene in Breakfast at Tiffany's where Audrey Hepburn is sitting out on this fire escape, playing the guitar, singing that song, right? So that's kind of the first time anybody really heard the song. And it turns out that, you know, she's not really playing the guitar. It's this guy, Bob Bain, is playing the guitar. And he was talking about, it just blows my mind to think that he was the first person to ever play that song that everybody knows. Everybody's heard this song now, but there was a moment he was describing when, I guess it was on the set of the movie, or it was that he's, okay, here's Audrey Hepburn. Hi, Bob, you know, nice to meet you. And they go and she's learning the song for the first time, and he's playing the song for the very first time. You know, and I think, wow, that's amazing. That's the guy that played that song before anybody in the whole world had ever heard it, you know. Anyway, I love stuff like that.
Bill, man, thank you so much. Your music, it adds so much meaning to my days. Like you mentioned, going on walks, I'll throw in my headphones, I'll throw on Pretty Stars, and I immediately just feel the sanctity of life, like just like, oh, beauty. And it's a push of a button. And I just go to type in Bill Frisell, and there it is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a lifetime of putting your heart into your work. And based off this interview, man, it's inspiring how true you stay to the art, as opposed to trying to rigidly fit it in to serve some other purpose like fame or money or pleasing people. Bill, man, thank you for being an inspiration. This has been the Weird Music Podcast. As we're wrapping up here, Bill, anyone who listened this far, anything they can be excited about coming from you this year? Any tour announcements or albums or anything like that?
Well, I've been lucky lately. Things started up. I'm touring a lot again, traveling all over the place. I just made a new album just a couple weeks ago, recorded a new album that'll come out I think if everything goes smooth, it'll come out in the fall. I don't even know what it's called or anything yet, but that's coming out. And then, I mean, I'm playing all the time, so hopefully see somebody somewhere.
I'd love to see you in person, Bill. Man, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully there's some Ohio dates. Bill Frisell, everybody. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Take care.
You made it this far. Thank you for listening. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Hemp Relief CBD, SEM Tickets, Devil Wind Brewing, and Artillery Productions. We got links in the description below. Go check out all the awesome stuff they've got going on. And yeah, much love, everyone.